So we're live with another episode of Kari's Corner. And I'm here with the incredible, the infallible, the handsome, the stunning, the talented, Michael Thomas Rigney. And we're talking about relationships. Michael just asked me about my dating life. I told him that I am really not dating. I feel like I have too much going on in my brain. And I don't really have the time or the energy or the bandwidth to really devote myself to someone else. Anywho, yeah, Michael, help me pick up where we just left off.
First off, I'd like to ask the rating of your podcast. Is it TV PG, TV 14, TV MA?
TV. The podcast is, I think per episode I can mark it explicit, and I have, because I'm pretty free in what I say.
Great. So I will be too.
Okay. Yes.
Well, you were talking about to play catch up here.
Yes.
The image that you grew up with like what is expected of. You find a person and that's your family unit and all this. And what I was just thinking was, you have these different bubbles that people sort of assign themselves to.
Okay.
But we grow up with that image, but that is not the entirety of the world.
Okay.
There are plenty of single people in the world.
Okay.
Who have created a different narrative for their life and their community.
And what do you mean by that?
So you grow up, and if you sort of focus on the fact that there's this expectation of, I'm supposed to find this one person, and that's my world.
Sure.
And if you're not able to break free from that, then you go through your life, if you don't find that, in air quotes, person, feeling like a sense of lacking, as where if you do break free from that, you can build an entirely different sort of bubble
ecosystem,
or perspective that is built around fulfillment from community and friends. But essentially what you were saying, like you're not focused on the fact that, I haven't found the one, because you're not looking for the one. You've decided that that's not the only path. And I think that that's insightful. And like I said, it's so refreshing to have someone who's so self-aware about their wants and needs.
I think that partnership is available. I think it's available. And I think that I'm not opposed to it. I said this off mic, I guess, but I think that most people find the desire and the need to have that one person, and then everyone else is subservient to that person. And I understand that if you are in a relationship, in partnership, that you've taken a vow, like an oath, or made a commitment to kind of put your partner first. But for a person like me who is decentralized to the idea of quote unquote the one, I think that the community of people that I have and the people that I really hold close and dear to my heart, I think to some regard, I hold everyone in high respects. I would, if I love you, I'd lay my life down for you, not just one person. It wouldn't be a choice. Also in the back of my mind, if I were to ever get married, I wouldn't have a best man. I think that all of my guys would be best men. Mm-hmm. They'd all be responsible for my premarital debauchery.
Well, what you're outlining is dualistic thinking of, if you have the one, then there cannot be, it's either or, right? I think that's what you were describing with that person we were discussing earlier.
Sure.
You find the one, and then everybody else just kind of disappears.
Correct.
So I think oh
my God, we're in a recording session.
Oh, how dare the word But like the idea that you have to somehow marry the fact that you can, being a person who has found the one, like marrying the fact that you can have that one who does supersede, but you still have a responsibility to your other like
to the other people in your
to the other people in your life, unless you want to isolate, which is not. I don't think that's healthy.
But that's common practice, though.
I think
like people get in their relationships and they
wait. Are you saying that there are people in the world who have unhealthy relationships?
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily unhealthy, because I feel like if that's something that you have a desire for, and you finally found intimate partnership and relationship with somebody who's willing to go the distance with you, I do think that's like incredible. But I think like the underlying thing of that is, then what does that say about everyone who came before that person? Because then I feel like you go to the movies, you go to the shooting range, you go axe throwing, you go skating, you hike, you camp with your friends. You do all these, you live life with your friends. And then when you find your partner, you cease to really do those things with friends, because those things are now reserved for partnership.
I'd say that is a misstep.
Okay.
How do I say this diplomatically?
This is hard. It's hard.
I won't say it diplomatically. If you, there's obviously any new relationship, there's like an initial investment that is made, like the intensity of which a newly dating couple is going to do activities and exclude their normal friendship.
Sure.
I think that's totally normal.
Sure, I agree.
I think the sustainability of that is, there comes a point where like that has to merge, that like very isolated, like we're getting to know each other, explore each other.
Sure.
Explore each other. Like that has to somehow healthily merge with essentially your real life. Because in a way, new dating and new relationships are like this fairy tale, not real life.
Sure.
I mean, think about like the definition of honeymoon phase. Like nothing about it is real, and then the honeymoon phase is over,
and now reality sets in.
In reality, right? So how do you make the transition from like that intense, like we're doing everything together, to integrating that into, okay, we both have lives and friends and responsibilities to the people we love outside of each other.
Sure.
And I think that's the gap where some people make that transition well and balanced, and others find themselves isolated and alone.
But I feel like some people don't. I feel like some people don't care to make the transition back into that. I think that some people's ultimate goal, their end game, is that insulated life.
TV mature. It's fucking stupid.
I love the preface. I love that preface.
It's like on NPR. The following story may contain sensitive content, inappropriate for some audiences.
Listener discretion advised.
Please remove the children from the room. No, I think you're right, but that goes back to the thing I was about, like, oh, you're saying that there's people who aren't in healthy relationships. I think
I don't want to slap a Band-Aid on and say that it's unhealthy.
Well, okay, let me.
It's your opinion. It's your opinion, of course.
Preface with saying, not unhealthy. Let me rephrase. If that's what you want for your life, more power to you. Do your thing.
Sure.
The carnage that you leave in your wake, though, is also your responsibility. And I don't think, regardless of what you want from your life,
that's good. If
what you leave behind is friends left high and dry, or like you just abandon people who have counted on you in the past, and there's this sort of like, I don't want to say like callousness, but it's kind of a callousness to like, okay, you guys served me for what I needed and I don't need you anymore. And it's based off of a transactional, like, I was getting something from you and now I'm getting that from this person and I don't need you anymore.
That's what I was hinting at earlier, is that I think that that's what can be rough. And that's kind of what I was saying, like doing life with people, with friends, that's expected. Going on trips, doing new things, snowboarding for the first time. Like, those are going tubing, like whatever the case is. But I
by the way, we need to do that this summer.
I would doing what?
Tubing.
What kind of tubing are you talking about?
The kind where you are on a lazy river and you.
Oh,
that's not the tubing you were talking about.
I was talking about tubing on a ski slope.
That's cold. Let's do warm.
Okay. That's fine.
Continue.
Are there any lazy rivers here?
The Mississippi River.
It's
not lazy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I've always found relationships in any facet to be interesting. And I mentioned earlier off mic that I think that I don't know if I've ever dated someone that I've been so infatuated with where they have blinded me from everyone else. I dated someone in college. It didn't last long, but I actually dated someone who felt the complete opposite. They felt like they had to appease my friends. They felt like they had to like make everyone else in my life happy, that they had to fit a mold, and they felt like they didn't want to shake hands and kiss babies all day.
Which is fair.
Which is totally fair. So I was the complete opposite of that spectrum.
Let's dig a little deeper into your So if just as there is, I think everything's a spectrum. Everything's a pendulum of two. It's like even your strength, if over leveraged, becomes a weakness. So if on the one hand you have the over isolationists of people who like get into their significant other so much to the point that their friend group and their community is ignored and neglected, and then they don't integrate. Is there also an opposite spectrum of missed opportunity in those one-on-one relationships where you have such a resistance to investing in that it never allows for that initial investment in the relationship to allow for the blossoming of something that can sustain. Hot take.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to say?
This is psychoanalysis with Kari and Miles today.
Well,
I'm not trying to like put you on blast. Well, Kari, why haven't you?
No, I think you're right. I just think that I think one of it's a little bit of selfishness. I think I've gotten accustomed to like living life on my own, and I don't even have a dog, so I can kind of come and go as I please and do whatever I want. So I think that it kind of, I guess I can say like I have to like ease up and not strangle the beginnings of potential with wanting to assert my own free will. Does that make sense? Like, I guess like how can I articulate that better? Just willing to be able to meet someone where they are and explore at that point and like be free and like let it be natural to see where things go. I think that I'm still so community oriented with my people that I like that status quo doesn't change. And it's like, if you can't fit in the mold, if you can't get in where you fit in, then it's like, all right, well, that's not going to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like, let's hypotheticals. You meet somebody and then, are they... I guess
are they a viable partner? Sure.
Is it right?
Sure. Could they be? Sure.
In isolation, this person and I can work just fine.
Sure.
But in my larger community, do they jive? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, yes. And I feel like most people, I feel like the natural thing is if you find a partner that you want, that you're willing to make the sacrifice for, I guess you don't care about your community. You have made the choice. You've exercised your free will in choosing the person. So if my family doesn't like them or our friends don't like them, fuck them. I choose this person.
I'd say that's a less than ideal scenario, though. There's no such thing as a pizza person. And what I mean...
You see me looking?
You're like, what the
Where are you
hell?
going?
A teacher in high school said to us often, nobody's pizza. Mm-hmm. You can't make everybody happy.
Okay.
And to sort of expand on that,
sure.
there's no one person that's going to check every one of your individual boxes of like, they meet every compatibility perfect thing.
Sure.
And likewise, there's no single person that you bring in unorganically into a community that they're not organically a part of that's going to naturally assimilate and be perfect and check every box. There's going to be like the merging of friend groups.
Sure.
Sometimes never happens between two people because it doesn't happen. But I think a successful in air quotes again, successful relationship is one where you have enough of the boxes checks that they can exist and be happy in your pre-existing community where it works. I'd say if there are no boxes and they're like totally at odds with your community, I think that probably should be a red flag to like
in some regard.
Why this person you have chosen is so at odds with all of the other people you have chosen.
Because I think that how do I be diplomatic? I think that
no diplomacy.
Yeah. But I think that sometimes people choose people because they want them. They don't care about their community. I chose you and I didn't sign on to your pre-existing reality. Which I feel like is a huge, I don't know, like crux, I guess. But I feel like sometimes it's like I don't care. Like I don't really care enough. I love you, but like I don't really care for your people, you know? So I don't care enough to like try or invest with your community. Like I chose you. I'm not marrying all of them. I'm marrying you.
Is that your own perspective or is this?
It's not my own, but I feel like I've observed. But it's fair. Everyone has free will. But I guess just how does all of that mix into relationships? And it's relationships that are platonic and relationships that are romantic. And how does one carry the weight of both? How does one navigate both without either party feeling used, abused, neglected?
I think you may have hit on something that we need to clarify the parameters.
Okay.
Here. I think what we're talking about is the value system we use to choose our communities versus the value system we use to choose our partners. And are those two value systems aligned? And if they're not, how do we remedy the two, or should we? And does your partner have the same alignment of value systems? I guess there's four things because you have two people, and with each person you have two groups.
Sure.
Their individual and their community. So 2 and 2, I'm good at math, is 4.
It's 4. Good job.
So if I think I don't care about your community, I care about you, and they say, I don't care about your community, I care about you, I think that's where you end up with a very insular, isolated, like we are
it's
couple,
just us.
It's just us, we are the only things in the world. Which, if you both are in agreement,
that's totally
that
fine.
Can work.
That's totally fine.
They have their friend group that they hang out with. And forget the whole, like, are they going to neglect their friend groups? We'll get to that. But, like, if that can work, I think. But if those two are odds, this person's like, I want you to be a part of my friend group. And you're like, fuck your friend group.
Fuck your friend group.
I just care about you.
Yeah.
Then I think that creates tension. So, do you care what your other your other.
The other.
The other. Your other.
Mm-hmm.
Like your ideal, and this is direct. For getting out of ideas, this is just you, Kari.
Okay.
Your personal. What's your ideal? Would you want to be involved in? Do you want to have the merging of communities in a perfect world? What's your ideal?
I think in a perfect world, I want freedom, and I want someone who is also busy, also has their own goals, dreams, and aspirations that they can do and thrive in, and we can come together and build a thing. But like I also have my own joys and desires that may not be shared of my partner. And I think that I think I'm a cool guy, and I think I can get along with a lot of people, but I also don't expect like me to be with all of their like A1s, all of their like best friends in their group. I would like to be a friend and be around, but I don't think that I'm necessarily entitled to be in all of those spaces, to be maybe in every facet of their community. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It sounds like independence.
Yes.
Freedom, but with access.
Absolutely. I feel like that should be every relationship.
All right, we've solved the problem. that's the answer, guys. I ask because I think there's so many ways to navigate it. This all stemmed from us talking about like how sad / disappointing, terrible it is when you have like a friend leave the group to be off into the wild with their significant other, never to be heard from again. Mm-hmm. And obviously, from both you and I, that's not what we think is the ideal.
Sure.
Going back to the question of like, is that okay or is that not okay? Is that unhealthy?
Sure.
You don't like the word unhealthy. I love the word unhealthy.
I guess if it's a desire and you're with a person who also feels the same way, I think that if you guys are living the life that you guys want, do you. But I think that you pose a great question, like what is the value system and what kind of value do you place on the people who you have done life with up until the point of you meeting your partner? And then, again, like you said, obviously, honeymoon, you're building new experiences with this person. So you're doing things, obviously, with this person that you guys haven't done before. So maybe you aren't doing it with your community or your friends as you once were. But I guess what are the implications and what are we saying to the people who have come before your partner? That they're less than? That's what I'm saying, like relational, what is it? Romantic relationship, romantic love is like the zenith of the human experience.
You're saying that's not the case.
I'm saying that's the case for most. Is that romantic love?
That's their view.
Yes.
The penultimate.
Yes.
Yeah, for better or worse. I think that's most people's view. Flip the script here, though.
Okay.
What's the responsibility of the community when one of their own is on this journey with their others to help the integration back in? Right. We already talked about the initial investment. Of course, you start a new relationship with someone in a romantic way, platonic friend group, community, whatever. Should be a temporary, like, pause you guys for
sabbatical.
Just a second. We're doing something here.
Yeah.
So how the community friend group can get butthurt about it.
Sure.
And be like, rah, rah. But that demonstrates a lack of like awareness in the community or the individuals in the community that this is a natural, like,
yes,
new relationships, new romantic relationships require sort of an initial, I don't want to say isolation, but an initial investment. Which requires, we only have so many hours in the day, right? You have to choose who you spend it with. And that, talk about bandwidth of, like, individuals. Like, some people are able to seemingly sleep 2 hours a day and be productive and like invest in everyone in their lives, and other people don't have that, and that's fine. But let's say your responsibility as a community member, like, where's the graciousness or the, like, loving, like, we really support you in your new enamored, like, smitten self, and we love you, and we want you both to come back into the fold whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
Whenever that may be.
I think that there is a responsibility of the community for sure, and I think that the graciousness comes in the freedom and the understanding that you're exercising your free will to go and do that thing. To let, like, instead of like nagging you or
where have you been, bro?
Yeah, like, where have you been? Like, you know, or I haven't seen you. Like, instead of, like, the backhanded comments, you know what I mean? I think that it's really just the freedom to let your friends do and explore their life as they please, understanding that they're exercising their free will. I think that's a right that's been given to every man. And woman. I mean, mankind, humankind.
Here we go.
And yeah, I think that it's a two party thing, and hopefully if the person and their community have a good relationship and good understanding of one another, I don't think the community will necessarily be butthurt. Like you said, it's an understanding that this is the natural order of things, that in a new romantic relationship there has to be an investment of time and attention for that thing to grow. I don't know. I think that the connect point is between the individual and the community. So that way, when they are ready to integrate back into the larger at whole, there's not like a, I don't even know if I can say that. Dude, change. We were talking about change. Nobody likes change. We talked about that earlier, and I'm thinking, like, okay, well, maybe, because then too, after you come back, after that person comes back, they're no longer the same person they were before.
Yes, there's a dynamic change. There's a shift.
Correct.
Yes.
And typically now that person is not an individual. They're now a partner in a partnership. So
how dare you? Of course, there's still an individual.
for some, but I think that a lot of the time it's always going to be like a +1 type thing, which is okay. But I think that are the bonds of said community strong enough to be able to withstand change? Is there the grace for people to evolve and to live their life as they see fit and still love them regardless? Or is that just a cop-out?
No, I don't think so. But I'm going to make here's my hot take.
Okay.
Value judgments are unpopular.
Okay.
The quality of your community is going to determine the outcome of that situation. If you have a group of really in tune people who are aware and have done like
internally, socially,
like they've thought about the dynamics of community and interpersonal, platonic and non-platonic relationships.
Sure.
If you got a group of those type of people, I think that's of easy lift.
There's a lift, sure.
There's a lift regardless. Yes, I was about to say there's a lift regardless, but it's the difference between like, I've got my 2-pound dumbbell, I'm gonna do a few curls, just some toning exercises, versus like CrossFit deadlift. We're
bullshit,
like vomiting on the workout floor.
Fair.
I think that's and the struggle is going to be the level of struggle is going to be dependent on your the quality.
Sure.
Don't you can't see me on the recording, but I'm making like dry heaving.
He's literally dry heaving right now.
Dry heaving on the word, the quality of your community.
So, okay, question to you then. What do you think the responsibility is of the community to support their friend, their whatever, and the integration, the whatever that new chapter looks like as people in their community gain partners, and I'm like serious partnership, I guess.
I think that's dependent on several factors. Have we gotten to the stage of intervention, or has an attempt been made by the new lovebirds to come back into, like, to integrate, right? Like, there's the couples who you have to, like, the couples, I should say couples. There's the person who's in a relationship, who's part of your community, who you're like, all right, investment period's been going on a little, like where have they been at for the past 18 months? I haven't seen them in a while. Like, if that's the situation, I think the responsibility is different than if it's like the person is trying to integrate.
Sure.
Like, if that's the case, it's easy. The responsibility, I think, of the community is to not, like, give them shit about it.
Sure.
Like, it's just the natural course of thing. It's like, hey, initial investment phase, they're trying to integrate back, welcome it, and be supportive of the relationship and this person, even if you're not, like, a huge fan of that person. I think that's key also, is if you respect the person in your community who has found someone.
Yes.
Ultimately, I think the responsibility is support of their choice.
Because they exercise their free will.
Even if you don't like it.
Sure.
The choice is theirs to make. And if you truly are, like, the community of this person.
Yes.
You trust their choice, even if you disagree with it. And you'll support them in that.
Right.
Now, barring some, like, extremes, right?
Yeah,
they beat me. Okay, maybe no. Yeah, let's not support that.
It's a spectrum, guys.
Yeah, let's not do that. But I think that's the case. Now, if it's in the, like, it's been 18 months. Where's Billy Bob? I haven't seen him in a while.
Sure.
I'm not sure I don't know what the is it to just cut your losses and be like, well, Billy Bob's gone forever. Or do you have an intervention? I don't know.
I feel like interventions never go well. But I guess I do agree with that. The community does have a responsibility of support of their friend and respecting their choice. I do think that's important.
If as I think about this a little longer, I think that's the more common one, right? I think it's very rare that you have someone who, like, leaves and never tries to come back.
Sure.
What I think you find is you have someone who does the whole initial investment in their romantic relationship, and then when they try and come back, they get met with a lot of hostility, animosity, or non-support of this new person they're introducing, and that immediately creates, like, oil and water.
Sure.
Like, how do you come back to something that you felt so dear, and now you're being met with, like, this person you find so wonderful and amazing
to be the bee's knees,
and, like, all the other people in your life who you think are amazing are saying, this person is shit.
This person's shit.
How could you like this person? That's a real quick way to be like, well, I think they're the bee's knees, and I haven't talked to you in 6 months because I've been investing in this thing. So peace out.
Yeah, but what does that say about that platonic relationship? If that person was there, not to say that just because you have history with somebody that means that they're better or in higher rank, but I guess what are we saying to that person, to those people, the community that was there, who you or anyone, the individual who's in a relationship has leaned on in the past, but you have gone away for this investment period, and now you've come back. You, in some ways, in that investment period, has abandoned their responsibility to community. That may not be like true across the board, but I do think that sometimes that can happen. Like it can be 0 or 100. Like it's not always 50-50. Does that make sense?
You're so like assuming the person who has left
Yes.
for the investment period
Yes.
has like just completely ignored the group.
Pretty much. Like you have absolved yourself of all of your responsibility pretty much.
So I think that
So how is the community supposed to feel when you come back? It's like, okay, well,
slighted.
yeah.
Well, I think this is a
I know this is all semantics.
yeah.
I know it's a conversation of semantics, so
Well, what else are we going to talk about?
yeah. Sorry.
There's a key, I think, vulnerability that is required. Vulnerability and awareness and it may be initiated by either side, right? And that's the beauty of vulnerability is it doesn't take two people to be vulnerable for a vulnerable situation.
Okay.
It only takes one side to open the door.
Okay.
So let's say Billy Bob, who left the group, I don't know why Billy Bob is the name I chose.
It's
Billy
okay.
Bob, okay. Billy Bob comes back to the group. The group feels the community feels like Billy Bob's just like ghosted us,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
If there's vulnerability from the community or people in the community, like, hey, this is how we felt, and open up the dialogue of healing that sort of slightedness.
Sure.
I think that's the bridge that bridges the gap between the two. That opens the conversation
Sure.
of how to heal that. If Billy Bob doesn't recognize when Billy Bob comes back that like, hey, I know, I really let you down, and like not been around, but
Sure.
if that's not what's happening, and nobody does the same thing from this group, then what you get is just like two people ignoring the truth of what has happened.
Sure.
And anytime you have like we're just not going to talk about it, that's a great way for things to go south real fast.
Sure. So vulnerability and communication.
Yeah, there's like imagine you have two people sitting in chairs, swivel chairs, because those are more fun.
Okay.
And they're both looking in opposite directions. If neither of them is willing to turn their chair around to look at the other person, then literally no communication can happen.
Sure.
It doesn't matter who turns the chair, but somebody's got to turn the chair.
Someone has to,
Someone has to
take the initiative.
Take the initiative and take that step. And that's a risk, because you don't know if when you turn your chair around and you start talking, if the person you've turned your chair around to is going to turn theirs
And do the same.
and do the same. So it's a risky move, but that at the end of the day, that's what vulnerability is.
Sure.
It's an act of faith, or that's the nice way of saying it, or it's just a roll of the dice, whichever one.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Something else I said earlier was that I think that it's not jarring, but it is, as someone who has decentralized the idea of the one, I do find it interesting that across the board, and it's okay. I'm not embittered by it. I guess I just get it. But there is a higher and greater priority on intimate romantic relationship versus platonic, that there's a higher value systems, there is a higher value on that. And so for someone like me who is very much so like about community and loving and protecting the people that I hold dear, that it is interesting being in community with people who are in companionship with one another, couples, because they have taken the commitment vow oath that their partner is number one. So even though we're all in community together, there is not the same kind of level or willingness to sacrifice for one another, because there is going to be a higher value on the partner than someone else who is not in that. Does that make sense?
It's a hierarchy.
It is a high. Yes. Yes. Thank you. I understand that there is a hierarchy, and that even though we are friends and we are close or whatever, that even though that a lot of these people that I would consider to be in the same tier, I have nothing that bars them from my love and affection equally, but that is not reciprocal. There's for someone like me is limited.
Well, I'm gonna be,
which is okay. It's okay.
Well, this isn't a challenge to that. It's more of a, I don't know. Maybe it is. If you take a look at your life and community and the people in it,
sure.
And to use a business term, if you had to force rank, the people in your life,
sure,
if you're honest, there is a ranking, right? Of like, if given the like,
if you have a gun to my head, yes, if you had a gun to my head,
who do you choose, right? Like that's
who's the favorite kid now?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Like it's you.
Like sure,
that's like the whole like family's blood, family first. And, like there's people who like that's their hierarchy. Like family will always come first. If you're blood, you're blood. And,
sure.
That's not my hierarchy.
Sure.
But that's some people's, right? And
sure.
There are people who are like friends first, and I think there are people in romantic relationships who do put their community first. Like if they were to force rank, it's my 5 closest friends.
My best friends since we were in second grade.
Like they're going to come first. And if you're in a romantic relationship where that's a shared value, it goes back to the shared, like, do you share the same values?
Interesting.
If that's a shared value and you know that, hey, Billy Bob and Susie Q, we're together, we're a team.
These names,
don't judge the names. If Billy Bob and Susie Q, if they know that like, hey, we're together, we're a solid unit, and we both know that like our hierarchy is we're gonna take care of our friends first, I think that can be a beautiful and healthy and wonderful thing. It only is a problem if you have one person who wants the hierarchy to be, I want to be number one and then community second, and the other person's like, well, I want my community to be first and my partner to be second.
Yeah.
And that's tough to even like.
I think that it's sorry to cut you off. I think it's the people being in the community or the group together and coming, and when force rank happens, and then the truth comes out that it's not, we don't value each other the same.
The veil comes off.
Yes, we don't value each other the same. It's okay. The truth shall set us all free. But I do think that, I think for me personally, I think that sometimes it doesn't like hurt, but it is sometimes like, like it's like eye-opening. It's like
that's the clarification of values.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think that's when
Sure.
you find out, like maybe you find out before, maybe you don't. But like let's say you have a friend group, a community of people, and when you're all single people,
sure.
Obviously you're the top of the food chain, right? Like there isn't anybody, there's no competition.
Sure.
You're all the lions in the Sahara.
Sure.
Right? But as soon as one breaks off and that's when you find out, like, are they going to be the type that prioritize force ranks, couples? And
I'm never mad. It's just an awareness. I think it's just an awareness.
We said that we were going to talk about grieving at one point, and this ties so well into that. Because that's if you it's stereotypical, like, I'm gonna use a different name. Steve's getting married.
Oh,
not Billy Bob.
Hi, Steve.
But Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Steve's getting married. Oh, we're gonna miss Steve. Like that whole like trope of so and so.
That's it. That's it.
What's it?
Sorry, Steve getting married. Like, all right.
Oh, right. Yes, I was like, what's it? Are we done? We're out of time.
Sorry.
Steve's getting married. That's it. We're done with Steve. Steve's over. Steve is no more. Steve has died to us, right? Like that's.
We're actually at Steve's funeral today.
You see the distasteful things of grooms with "help me" on the bottom of the shoes. That like that's that whole like. I think I hate it, but that's what that stems from. There is a level of grieving when you have a friend group. It doesn't matter how wonderful and amazing the romantic relationship is for someone who finds one in a friend group.
Sure.
There is a loss because what you're doing is you have a group of people. There is a percent of investment that a human can give.
Yeah.
If you have 5 people and each of them are giving equally to each other, that's an equal distribution of investment. Mm-hmm. If you add another, it decreases that one person's level of available investment.
Sure.
And so there is a loss. I think to say that there isn't or won't be a loss is naive. There will be a loss in investment because you can't, unless you're some sort of superhuman freak who has like the ability to like, I'm just going to do literally everything and never sleep. And like you can only spread yourself so many places.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yes, I think there's a level of grieving that comes with, you can be happy for someone, but there is also sadness in that this person is not the same.
Things have changed.
And we already established people
don't like change. Yeah. And change is the only... Okay, sorry, y'all. We had to do a quick reset. Getting back into it.
Well, let's be honest why we had to have a quick reset.
Michael had to take the world's longest piss. Michael peed for 3 minutes straight. It's crazy, y'all. You talked about, I don't know.
Grief,
and that is, I was thinking that grief and, change really, truly is the only constant that we have in life. That the only guarantee that we have is that things are going to change. And, I don't know, maybe I was having an existential crisis when I messaged you the other day. Because I kind of mentioned in that message that, like, this is not 2012. Like, this is not, like, so much time has passed and where we are is just completely different. Same people in some regard, the essence of the same people, but I know that you and I inherently are different. And I don't know, is it just the reality of getting older? Like that I'm 30 and I feel like everyone around me is like getting married. Everyone's like having kids, which is a whole different thing because like the state of the world that we're in, like just chaos and I don't know, just the responsibility of it all. Like and I feel so far away from marriage, kids, that kind of thing. So I don't feel like I'm behind, but I guess just the reality that everyone's just living their life and doing their thing,
That speaks to the call back to the beginning. Talking about how dare you
mute your fucking phone.
how dare the work email?
It's almost 5.
Workday never ends.
I know.
I think so. The callback is the beginning of the conversation was all about. It started with like what we grow up in and like what our expectations of or what life should be. This like you grow up in a house with a family and like so that's the thing. Like this expectation of timeline of when things should happen and what things
should happen. Yeah.
And what is it? The enemy of contentment is comparison or whatever is a
Sure.
Right. We go through lives. I'm significantly older than you.
No, you're not.
7 years?
That's okay.
Okay, I'm older, 7 years, almost a decade. But timeline-wise, like, my timeline and your timelines are different as far as, like, things that I experienced and did in my early 20s.
Okay.
I.e., married, child divorced, like, all those things happened before I was 24.
Wow.
Actually, all those things happened before I was 22.
You were divorced before age 22?
Yes. Divorced before 22. So, like, all those experiences, timeline-wise, very early. And that...
Are you okay?
I'm 37. That...
I just can't imagine. Sorry. We can continue. I just can't imagine.
Tangent. Like, my early 20s feel like a literal lifetime.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I can't even...
Eons.
If you think about it, that was like 5 years before we even met.
Yeah.
And now it's been 12 years since then. So it like feels a long, long time ago. Anyway, timelines.
Sure.
Timeline-wise, like, my older brother, like, his timeline was 4-year undergraduate degree, 2-year master's degree, married, children 1 year after, white picket fence. Like, you know, his timeline was very traditional.
That I was about to say, that is the standard. Air quotes, but
yes.
the standard.
Well, and I think the standard, air quotes, is not really the standard for the majority of people. I don't think most people go
I think it's the idea that's perpetuated, though.
100%.
It's all propaganda. But I feel like that's the thing. I feel like that's the thing.
And well, back to the ideals, air quote, that we grow up with are what we compare ourselves to.
Sure.
And if we aren't in that picture frame of timelines, then we think we're behind or whatever.
Sure.
And it perpetuates a sense of like not enoughness. Mm-hmm. Why am I not with my significant other?
Sure.
Why have I not found that thing that the world has told me I'm supposed to find? Why am I not financially secure or like...
Only because the world's falling apart and eggs are almost $10 and inflation is up 3% in the last 45 days.
True story, eggs, $5.70 something at Aldi.
Yeah.
Anyway, eggs are for a different podcast.
Okay, we'll talk about eggs on a different one.
We'll talk about the price of eggs. But like, I think that's.
I feel like
all of that stems. I mean, all of what we're talking about stems from expectations.
Interesting.
From whether it's
external.
Yes. What we think a relationship should look like. Okay. What our view is of how they should act to us.
Okay.
It's all about expectations.
Okay.
And if you can limit or divorce yourself from the expectation and you have a discussion with the individuals involved in the situation.
Sure.
And set your own expectations with the people around you in your community, with your friend group, with your partner, whatever. If you can level set and just say, like, these are my expectations for better or worse, and we can talk through them and dig into them and figure out whether they're, like, really my own or just socially,
sure,
put on me. But that's, I think, how you get through all of this however 55 minutes of us talking about all this stuff is, it can all be solved, I think, by just turning the chair and saying, this is what I expect from you. Mm-hmm. Tell me if that's what you also expect this to look like.
And are you willing to? Do you have the capacity to even?
Do you have the capacity? Are you willing? And what are your expectations of this? Of this.
Okay.
And can we compromise and get in a place where we can adjust our expectations so that both of us get maybe not what we want, but at least what we know what we can expect out of it. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only way to like sift through the bullshit that is everything about human interaction and relationships, is just coming to grips with what are the expectations in the situation.
That's good. I don't know what to say. Like you were talking about that, and I was going to say, but I didn't want to go off because it feels like we're coming to a close. But I feel like as a gay man, I feel like talking about expectation, and obviously being a black gay man, I feel like there's so many, or being a black male, I feel like there's so many expectations, especially growing up in the South. There's so many expectations of what a man is supposed to be, and a provider, and like all these things. And I feel like being queer, you inherently opt out of a lot of expectations that have been set before you. And regardless of if it disappoints anybody else, because I'll be damned if I live a lesser life being disappointed in myself for not being who I am. But I know that a lot of people, I have a lot of straight males in my life who I think that they are willing to come to me or listen to what I have to say. But sometimes I don't know. I don't know what to say, because I know that as a straight male who dates women, and I know gender roles, like there's being dads, there's so many things that you guys have to subscribe to in certain dynamics that I feel like I don't have to. Does that make sense?
So I'm gonna try.
You're talking about expectations, and I guess it's a tangent, but I think about people in my life who did the right thing, maybe had a kid unexpectedly, but still rose up to the.
Are you talking to me?
No. But I'm just talking about like people in my own life currently, and people who are men who are younger than me and are stepping up to the roles, being a father, marriage, long-term relationships because of having kids, and just feeling like they have to be something, have to do something, like they have this role they have to fulfill because of expectation. And I feel like ultimately, because of my lifestyle, I have and continually opt out of what external expectations people have of me, because I'm willing to make the sacrifice come hell or high water to define who I am in my life and my journey.
I would say that is the ultimate goal. I mean, I'm saying that as a commendation to you of anybody who makes choices based off of expectations. So, back to my comment, are you talking about me? Like, let's make this about me, Kari. But like the having a child unexpectedly, the expectation is A, B, C, whatever.
Sure.
Right? If you can look at what a situation that you're in is, assess it, and recognize what an expectation is versus what you want out of it. And if you choose what you want over the expectation, then that's the win to me.
Sure.
If you do something purely out of, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, then whatever the outcome is, it's kind of tainted to me.
Sure.
It's not,
no, I agree.
It's not like from a pure, wholehearted place. It's from I hate when like people talk about like responsibility. Because that's just another word for expectation. Like society
it's required. A duty.
It's required.
It's a duty.
It's not because I want to do it. It's just because I have to. well, if I have to do something, then it takes the dignity and the honor.
Your free will.
Right. It takes like the choice out of it.
Yeah.
So you're not, if you make a good
Which is God given.
Amen. If you make a choice because you feel like you have to, it doesn't make it like a clap to you. To me. Like if you do something because you're like, they felt like they had to, they didn't have a choice, then that's not honorable and like worthwhile.
It's not as noble as you think it is.
Right, it's not as noble as you think it is. It's like
I agree.
The trope of like the old baby boomer provider father figures who like do it and hate their family.
Yes.
But they take care of them because that's what a father does.
Yeah.
Like that's bullshit. Like the hard and honorable thing is to do something because you see there's a choice and you decide, I want to do this, not because it's expected of me or because society says I should do it, but because I want to and because I think it's the right thing. And that circling back and tying it back into like
thank you
the whole that's full circle.
Okay.
Like the whole community versus relationship stuff. Like if you think that you have to be someone or some type of way in your romantic relationship in your community because you think that's what's expected versus that's what you want and have discussed with your partner and community, and then make that decision. That's the way you like bridge that gap. Is it has to be a choice made out of like honest discussion, not just like obligation.
Sure. Well, y'all, it's been fun, but cars gotta run. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you. Yeah, guys. You can find Michael on YouTube and some of his piano playing under Michael Thomas. Michael's looking at me like, dude, what the fuck?
Just Google Michael Rigney piano and you'll
Well, y'all, I thank you. We'll be back for another episode of Cars Corner. Michael, again, thank you so much.